Hello, welcome back to the lesson. Today we're learning about dictionaries in Python. And dictionaries are a powerful way to store and organize information using labels. What is a dictionary? So a dictionary in Python is a data structure that stores key value pairs. And so you want to think of it like a labeled box. You have a label, and that's called the key, and inside the box you store a value. Unlike a list where items are accessed by position, dictionaries let you assign names to your data, and so that makes them easier to search, update, and organize, especially when you're dealing with real-world information. So let's take a look at one in action. Okay, so we are creating this variable, contacts, and the curly braces, this means we're creating a dictionary. And so each entry has a key, like Jasmine, and then the value is her phone number. And so every key value pair is separated by a comma. And so a dictionary is just a way to store labeled information, and the names here map to the information. So now how do we access items from a dictionary? Okay, so I'm going to print this code. And we're using this print statement to, of course, display something. And so inside these parentheses, we ask the dictionary, contacts, we ask for the value that is tied to the key Jasmine. And so Python is just going to go ahead and look up this key, and then it's going to give us this number. So let me run the code here. And as you can see, it prints 5551234. So how do we go about updating an existing value or adding a new one? So let me show you an example. If I write contacts and I grab Marcus key, and assign it to the number 5559999, that's going to update Marcus's number in our contacts dictionary. Let me go ahead and add a new contact. And so that's just as simple as just using the square brackets, adding the new name as a key, equals 5551111. Okay, let me put actually contacts, that is correct. And then if I print contacts, we could see Jasmine 5551234. We can see that Marcus 555999. That's the new numbers there, and then we can also see that it added Rashida. So if the key exists in the dictionary, it's going to get updated just like Marcus did, and if it doesn't, it's added. All right, so let's move on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and comment this out, and comment this out, and I'm just going to comment this out as well. Let me go ahead and add or update key. Okay. Let's just make this. All right, cool. So let's say we want to remove some data from our contacts dictionary. What do we need to do? All right, it's very easy. All we use is del, and then we access the variable that the dictionary is stored in, and I'm going to remove Tasha. Okay, so the delete tells Python, hey, delete this entry for Tasha, both its key and its value. So let me just prove it to you. So I'm going to hit run. And as you can see, here's our contacts dictionary, Jasmine, Marcus, Tasha is missing. So you just want to use delete to completely remove a record from your dictionary. So let's continue on. And so this time we're going to talk about how you can actually nest dictionaries. So say you're tracking payments for a project, and each invoice needs a unique ID, a client name, an amount, a payment status. So this is how you could structure it. Comment this out. Okay, so invoices is the main dictionary. And then each invoice ID is the key. And then the value is actually another dictionary holding the client name, the amount, the status. So let's say I want to get get the amounts from invoice 001. And so I'm going to create this print statement, and then I'm going to reference our invoices dictionary, and then I'm going to use the invoice 001 key. I'm going to use that key. So now if I were to just print this, I would print out that nested dictionary because that's the value for this invoice 001. But if I want to actually grab an item within that nested dictionary, I want to grab the amount. And so all I need to do is just grab that amount from this nested dictionary because that is also a key. And so it's like, let's see, amount. And then this is going to print 350. So nested dictionaries let you store detailed records under a single key. You can keep nesting and nesting. I don't know if that's always the wisest idea, but if the data calls for it, then that's what it calls for. So let's talk about how we can loop through a dictionary to work with every key and every value. So let me go ahead and clean up the code. First of all, I'm going to copy this, but I'm just going to comment that out so we can see everything that we're working with. Let's go ahead and comment this out as well. All right, so I'm going to paste contacts again. And so what we want to do is we want to loop through every key in this dictionary, and we want to print the key name. So we want to print the name, and then we also want to print the value. And so one way to do it is you literally just use one of the looping strategies that we learned when working with lists. I'm going to call a for loop. I'm going to type name is the placeholder variable, and I'm going to go inside this contacts, and inside the contacts, and that's yelling at me because I am being fancy for you guys, and I'm actually typing things right now, but you see what happens when I do it. Anyways, let me continue on. Okay, so we're looking inside this dictionary contacts, and we're iterating through every value in there. Wow, it just keeps on going, huh? Okay, and let me just go ahead and print name because we have access from this variable. And then I'm going to say, hey, why not print name? See what happens when I do this. So this loop goes through each key in the dictionary. And inside of the loop, we're going to be printing both the key and the value because contacts at name pulls that value. So that's one way that you can loop through all the keys in a dictionary. There's another way that you can do it that's a little bit cleaner. And so the way you do this is all right, so let me just comment that out really quick. All right, so we have our for loop. And then we have this method right here called items. Okay, so items is going to give you both the key and the value at once. And so it's going to give you both the key and the value of contacts, key and value. And so what we do, and we saw this in last lesson, but we unpacked these two items that come from here into name and number. And then we print both values. And just remember, these are placeholders, so it could be I and J or key and value, whatever. Okay, you name these variables. So let me go ahead and run this code. And as you can see, it also printed both the name and the number. All right, so key takeaway here is that you can use this items on your dictionary, and it's going to allow you to view both the key and the value. And so you can access that in this loop. All right, let me clean this up. Okay, so let's move on. Let's use a little bit more of a real world scenario. Now, let's say that you're keeping track of TikTok creators. And so maybe you're organizing a campaign, or you're building a collective, or you're managing brand outreach. So each creator is going to have a username, a follower account, a list of topics that they post about, and whether they're open to collaboration. And so what we're going to do is we're going to store each creator in a dictionary, and then we're going to use a list of dictionaries to manage the group. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. I'm going to paste some code in for you. All right. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have this creator profiles, and this is a list. And each item in the list is a dictionary. Boom, one. And each item in the list is a dictionary. We have 3 items in this list. And so each dictionary stores info about one creator. And so we have their username, we have their follower count, we have the topics that they like to talk about, and then we have if they're ready to collab or not. All right, so we have our data. We have a list of all of our creators. And imagine this list only has 3, but this could be millions, okay? Seriously, millions. So we have this, and what we want to do is we want to generate a clean summary for each creator. So some type of doc that's useful for a meeting or like an outreach message. So what are we going to do? Let me go ahead and paste some fun code in here for you. I'm going to just minimize this. Okay, cool. I'm going to paste the code. Okay, so what's going on here? Line by line, what's all this code doing? So first of all, we are going to loop through each dictionary in the creator profiles list we have right here. Okay, and then we're going to extract their username and assign it to this variable name. We extract the follower count. Okay, and so then we have topics, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn this list of topics into a string using this join method. All right, and join basically is a method that allows you to take all items in some type of list or some iterable and join them together. And then you can separate it using whatever you pass in this. And so in this instance, we're going to separate it by having a comma and a space. All right, so let's continue on. And then next, we're going to use a conditional check. And this is going to check if they're open to collaborating or not. So this is going to check the collab ready key, and then it's going to let us know whether or not they're open to collaborate. And then last but not least, we are going to format and then print a summary line. All right, so let me go ahead and run this code. And as we can see, we have Mindful Maya, and this is separated by a pipe, her followers, topics, and as you can see, this joint method, what it did right here, it joined all those items in the, here, I'm going to go there. It joined all those items in the list and then separated by that comma and a space. So we can see that here. And then last but not least, we have the collab status, open to collab. So this is just a quick way to show you how we can use a list of dictionaries that let you structure, and then you can loop through them, and you can really just present real world data in a meaningful way. All right, start clean, start fresh. Okay, so now that we've seen dictionaries in actions, let's talk about why we use them. And what if we just wanted to use a list instead? We have a list of phone numbers, and this works. Okay, but how do you know which number belongs to who? And the way you could do it is you would have to remember the position, or you could use another list like contact names, which we were doing in earlier lessons. I'm just going to say Sue. Who's Sue? Betty. Getting corny here. And actually, none of these names are corny, so forgive me if this is one of your names. The name Betty is very special to me, to be honest. All right, so as I was saying, that would be one way that we could remember the position by creating this list and then basically just matching both of these lists by grabbing the position of Sue. Okay, so Sue at position 0, and then looking up contacts list at position 0. But that can kind of be a little brittle, to be honest. And, you know, just using index, that can be messy and error prone. So dictionaries, they fix that. And you store the data with a label, not a position. And so you don't have to search, you don't have to loop, you just call the exact key. Now, one thing to notice, dictionaries, they don't have a guaranteed order. And so if we look at this, this is definitely a guaranteed order. If you loop through this and you use the index to find which contact name belongs to the correct contact list, you will always get Sue, Betty, and Mildred in that particular order, or if you decide to do some different things with your loop, you can use some step position as we learned earlier, but essentially it's a guaranteed order when you use this list. But dictionaries, they do not have a guaranteed order. So that is the trade-off. And so you're essentially choosing meaning over position. And a lot of times in most real world apps, that is exactly what you want, but there's cases when you don't. But one thing to remember is that in a list, order matters. And when you're using a dictionary, we're meaning structure and we're meaning direct access. You're just looking up the label, Sue, and you're grabbing the phone number. So final thoughts. When you know how to use dictionaries, you can build tools that make your data reusable. And so whether you're organizing creators like how we did, or you're building a brand, or you're managing something for your community, this is how structure happens in code. Dictionaries let you label and organize real-world information in a way that's flexible, efficient, and scalable. So make sure to check the Course Hub for additional resources on dictionaries. And let me know if you like this lesson, if it helped you. Comment, subscribe, post in the Discord community channel. Thank you guys. Have a great day.